So you're the founder at both X Fellows, Novus. You're known as an impact investor, a TEDx curator, a resident TED. But you just mentioned some stuff you're doing at the UN too, which is really relevant. Yeah.
Right. So what John, ever since you met me, the only reason why I'm allowed into these extraordinary circles is because I've had this strange gift, for lack of any other skill sets the normal world requires, of being able to design, conceptualize, and execute extraordinary experiences that hopefully transform the way a human being sees, experiences, and lives his own life's purpose in the world. Right? So that's kind of like where I started my journey. I started from a place of, how can I change the world if I can't even change myself? Mm-hmm. And that has propelled me ever since I've been a child to truly go beyond, above and beyond what is necessarily an endeavor that's just about me, to one that's about we and beyond us. So it's greater than us. It's greater than myself. And that's when you get, connected into a very powerful divine space where really the universe starts to really unlock true destiny and helps you also curate that sense of true destiny, in a way that fulfills your dharma. And then when you fulfill your dharma, which is your rightful purpose in the world as a human being, then you explore and start to tap into what we call the swadharma, which is your divine purpose in the world, which is in alignment with, not just this lifetime, but many lifetimes or many future lifetimes. And it really starts to go into the cosmic continuum of deep, purposeful, and meaningful work that you can share with the world. And that's what I do basically with my work, is I try to really elevate to a place where it's not about me, it's not about us, it's about serving the greater good.
Absolutely. I would just want to make sure that we also introduce you well to the world, because this is a part of the Peace Wave Summit, and you are a social innovator, and we are so thrilled to amplify what it is that you do and how you bring we to this world, which is such a significant part of this summit of we the people, and the global goals are part of this whole vision of this summit launching to the world. And just really want to acknowledge too that you are the founder at X Fellows, impact investor, TEDx curator. I also am reading here you have, was it five masters?
I know. I have a lifelong learning disorder.
It's incredible. And you really do work with youth, and youth is such an important, one of our pivotal questions of this whole summit is, how do we mobilize and support the social innovators and youth of the world to achieve the global goals and create peace on earth by 2030? We'd love to know your perspective on that question.
So I'm very inspired by the youth. I love younger people, but I also love old people. So to me, I'm like the X fellow, right? That bridges the two worlds, because I believe that here and now we're all asking one question: how do we mobilize, activate, galvanize the youth? And youth don't need that, really speaking. In my opinion, today, here and now, the youth have all the resources, because we're living in a time where there's more abundance than ever before in history. I think what the youth really need is connection and a sense of belonging, and they find that with each other through these digital nomadic tribes. But I feel like we're not doing a really good job of being true to ourselves in that belief that how do we mobilize? Because on one end, we want to mobilize. On the other end, I hear so many adults and wisdom, elderly not so much, but people in my age, 40-ish, the youth don't know what the hell they're doing. They're so spoiled. They're so entitled. And I'm like, well, if you keep telling them that story, they're going to do three things. One, they're going to accept it and not be able to mobilize because they're going to internalize it as a truth. That's the worst possible outcome. Two, they're not going to listen to you and move on and do whatever they want. And three, they're going to retaliate and think of us as old and has been and done for. So all three reasons are not the right reasons to say these things. So for me, it starts with us changing our narrative around the youth, because a lot of the youth, we say we want to mobilize, but then when we confront a situation of truly activating and mobilizing, we're not willing to do the deeper work. to really understand who they are and where they come from.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned this because I was trying to do a summit called the X Impact Summit, which is all about the youth. I want to support them, create for the world, help them become the most extraordinary citizens that we can have on the planet, and really that's my life's purpose and vision, is to create the conditions for extraordinary citizenship around the world. Yeah. And that's what I consider the magnum opus of the X Fellows, X Impact Summit, and Novus as well. It's a common thread that goes through all three.
Yeah.
And to do that, I asked the question, do you love this? I thought I'd come up with the world's best program for life. Kind of like a We Day situation where I was like, oh, we're going to have so many people in the room. Yeah. I thought, we don't consume information this way anymore. It's like a grandpa's situation that you've given me as far as like how we relate to being at a summit. I was like, wow, I just got such a lesson in the fact that I created what I thought I, as a youth, would have found extraordinary.
Right.
Whereas where they are is 20 years in the future of where I was. So to come and meet them there is what I think is the most powerful thing we can do. And that takes a lot of trust building. And I think that's something that I'm learning myself, to build trust amongst the youth so that they truly feel like you have their back. They want to be involved in your experiences and they want to involve you in their dialogue. Is a very powerful thing. And you see, the thing is, with great power of that sort comes massive responsibility as well. And I think that's what I want to help curate amongst us, is how do we take this massive responsibility and turn it into massive transformative purpose for the youth so that they can mobilize and activate. And then, you and I should just become irrelevant in the right way, meaning not like irrelevant kicked out the door, but irrelevant as wisdom figures that helped mobilize this extraordinary force for good in the world. Yeah. And that's what I believe we need to do really first, is build trust and effectively try and, create a world where moral courage, expansive and absolute compassion and effective altruism becomes like the trifecta that we instill by embodying it ourselves. Yeah. And that's what I believe, would really help the youth, is giving them those sustainable moral pillars so that they can go out and do the sustainable work. Because the moral pillars will drive that. Because ultimately we've set this goal, like you said, of 2030 peace around the world. Yeah. We can use that through technology and us being human beings. But what's most important is that we're really proud of who we are when we arrive at that destination. When we arrive at that singularity of where youth, mankind, womankind, and technology integrate in a way that we literally could, for the first time in our lives, find and abundance. We have to be very proud of who we are when we get to that point. And not do it in a way that we just stick a banner on, we've found peace through these metrics.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, it's more of a moral code than just, a code of like conduct.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was just so much. I feel like there's so much to kind of feel and like sort of meditate on, in a way, of some of the things you just shared there. I think the taking responsibility piece of building trust is so key and so challenging sometimes to really actually, do that and be patient with, the missions we have and the ideas that we think are the right thing, but maybe they're not, and how to make space for all of that, and still create the change, create peace on earth by 2030,
Well, also what I hear you saying, create peace on earth by 2030 starts now. It really is the way we are now with each other.
Yes.
That will be the, defining challenge we face, is can we live that way now, such that when we achieve those goals, that it's a natural extension of the way we are. Like Phil Lane says, by walking the path, we make the path visible.
Right.
So exactly. And, another thing I'd love to share is that peace is a wonderful mission. A boy who runs, and I'm going to introduce you to him, the Peace Accelerator, is called Chris Delada, asked a friend of mine he was having friction with, do you believe in peace? And I questioned, what does that mean? right? Because, we might believe we believe in peace, but we really don't in our nonverbal actions and being. So I believe that peace should begin with inner transformation. When you transform within, you can actually have more effective, positive impact and possibly create the conditions for peace outside. And I feel that's where we are right now. Novus's mission and vision, actually, or motto, is to transform the world. Right? And I feel like transforming the world requires a lot of deep inner work, looking within and looking at each other. And this is a relationship thing. I love your energy, Summer. John's been telling me about extraordinary energy you have. And he's like, well, if you miss today, you'll miss summer, which will mean you've missed everything.
Oh, wow.
So, and now I can see what he means, until you, and this is just a 2D experience. I can't even imagine how much force of nature you have within when you're in person.
Oh, thank you.
John and I have had a massive heart connection from the minute we met. He has a huge give, and I've given as much as I can to him as well in my capacity. But just coming back to the peace thing, I think it's very important that we now start to look at peace not just as a nuclear war, but as a self-regulating thing. I believe that it is actually under Trump's watch that we have the biggest opportunity to find and actually live in peace. And he can't, he actually has become my greatest strength because I have to look within so much when I see what's happening in the world. And it's not just him, it's the media. I feel like we've done no better as the media, which I sometimes identify with. I used to love being able to open Huffington Post at one time because it had really messages of positivity and Obama's doing this. But now I just feel like it's a mirror to Fox News Network because it's always a negative headline. And I'm like, wow, this has become constantly negative news. So I feel like the responsibility lies with us to look at how we can change here and now and not have to change someone else, to change our modus operandi so that we can effectuate peace in our circle of influence. And that's what I believe. I really believe here and now is the best time.
Yes.
That we can do that.
Yeah, fabulous. Well, there's a couple questions just right along those lines. We want to make sure you have a chance to respond to. So I don't want to. Go ahead.
Oh, just I love that you started though. It's literally like part of this next question that peace starts within.
Yeah.
Like everything starts right here.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
I was going to say. So, do you think it's possible to create peace on Earth by 2030?
Yeah, I look at peace as a place of health and well-being. It is possible, but we also have to know that disease always comes into the body, right? And that's just like our world. So I don't believe in world peace. That's just a personal belief. I believe the world, if they're sick of us, the cosmos will let its divine force follow, and either an asteroid will get rid of us or it'll hiccup from within. Earthquakes and tornadoes will wipe us off the planet. I do believe in humanity having peace. That's something I believe in much more and deeper than the world.
Got it.
The world is its own, force of nature, and it can take care of us like that.
Yeah.
So I believe that we have a collective consciousness that we need to tap into. Whether it's through the global goals of the United Nations or through all of this extraordinary spiritual work being done by Dalai Lama, Desmond Tutu, you name it, there are different ways in which we can tap into the being of humanity and start to really reframe and reconstitute what is world peace. And I feel we start with reframing what it is to be an extraordinary human. Because today, an extraordinary human, largely in the bigger world of politics, family, and life, is driven by massive success. Am I a billionaire? Do I have enough power and authority in the world as a politician? It's like this rat race which is not even a rat race anymore. It's like all sorts of animals just running to get to the top of a mountain that doesn't exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love Forbes, but they have their Midas list, 100 richest people in the world. If we actually deduce the world to 400 people amongst 7 billion, there's no way we're going to find world peace.
Mm-hmm.
No way, because then you're just looking at that 400 list and all of these other people who have access to it are pining towards that. And then there's so many people that are left behind. So do I believe it's possible? I believe that it's potentially possible. I don't believe in world peace, but I do believe that humanity needs to find peace within our own race first. And then we can curate the conditions for world peace, because that means stop slaughtering all these animals, and we take care of the planet as much as we take care of our family or our kids, which we don't do. We're willing to open up a plastic box and throw it into the ocean, which kills a turtle. We don't think about those ramifications, right? We just feed our baby, but we just killed a turtle.
Right.
So I think that's where it needs to rebalance. And that's why I believe human peace first, then the animal kingdom, then the planet, meaning the plants. And then we have a true shot at what we might envision as world peace.
Fabulous. Good.
Well, what do you think most stands in the way?
Go back to a spiritual sense. It's greed, delusion, and sometimes this inability to see and be vulnerable. I think Brene Brown mentions it best.
Love her.
Right? So she's extraordinary at how she frames vulnerability as a character strength and not a weakness. Whereas the world usually, and let's be honest, Wall Street to, whatever that street is in DC, Trump Street, I think right now, there's a massive amount of ego that does not allow for you to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Not because you don't want to be, it's because the conditions have been curated such that if you show vulnerability, you're weak, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I believe that's the first step, is to truly find vulnerability. Just like you do when you are in love or you have your child. That's the two places where you're willing to be vulnerable and be like, okay, maybe I screwed up, right? I think that needs to happen in order for us to really find world peace. We really need to start with the base of vulnerability and creating that, that tribe that allows you to be safe as your vulnerable self.
Yeah, so good. Thank you. Go ahead. Do you want to?
So it's beautiful, Kunal, to hear from you and your wisdom.
So good to hear your voice too. I'm sorry I've been so, when you're a curator versus a speaker, you've got the work of the giants, because I'm honoring all the giants on stage and I love them, and some angels, and, often takes a lot of your bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so lovely to see you too.
Yeah,
It's
and
really
to hear
good
from
to see
you
you
as a
too.
giant here. So
Yes.
is there any way you can imagine that we might overcome these challenges?
Well, see, I think there are ways that we can overcome these challenges, but they require massive amounts of collaborative. The power of collaboration comes in to full force over here. And not just across the aisles, but within the aisles. Because trust me, people say the enemies are cross-border. You'll be surprised how many enemies are within your own border or within your own territory. So if you're infighting, right, you've got politics in your own circle, you're not even going to care about the enemy. In fact, the enemy is going to come and destroy you when you're fighting with each other. Right? So I feel like that's the first step we have to take, is consolidate and resolve conflict with one another and within, to really reach across the aisle. You cannot reach across the aisle when there's infighting and politics and resentment and belief that I deserve more than she does, or he doesn't deserve what I have. And I'll give you a good example of this Me Too movement, for example. I think it's really amazing what's happening. But what it's done is it's scared a lot of men, and they've gone into hiding. And that's not the right thing for men to do.
Mhm.
Right? So where can we find that courage to step up and make this about fighting with and for each other to resolve that conflict? Because it's not like women don't want us. I mean, that'd be really sad, God forbid. But there is a way in which you address triggering truth of abuse that
Mhm.
needs to be resolved.
Mhm.
You can't run away from it.
Yeah.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
You can't be a bystander either.
I think it gets to what you were just saying as well about vulnerability, that we've got to create a space for everyone to share what's present for them, so people don't end up hiding what, is really their fears, or that what that may be, but the Me Too movement, I think, is still figuring out how to really unfold in a way that's good for everybody and supporting a better way,
And men have to be more able to be active citizens in the process,
Right.
not be afraid of,
Yeah.
the idea able to stand up for themselves and for the other. And I believe that there is a lot of power in being able to be the change you want to see in the world by not being a bystander.
Right.
That's what I feel is the biggest problem in our world today. It's being a bystander, just witnessing, hoping something will pass, using that Buddhist saying of this too shall pass. Sometimes you don't wait for things to pass. You resolve, you address, you fight, and you win. That's what I believe needs to happen here and now. From anything as new and volatile as this movement to something as dangerous as World War III,
Right.
which has also been thrown around in the news lately for the first time in ever. I'd never heard us talk about the possibility of World War III as much as we have in the past 2 years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
So we need to really look at these huge pieces and put them out in the world so that we become active citizens of massive transformative purpose, and engagement and activation and resolve.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then you fall down, but you will. You get back up, you be resilient, and you join hands and keep moving forward.
Mhm. I wonder, in relation to mobilizing youth and this idea of peace on earth by
Yeah.
2030, what do you see as maybe some first steps? If we were to, like, right here in this moment, start to take 3 steps forward, what do you think is the most critical things that need to happen, that we, like, taking responsibility right here, right now? What would that look like to you?
2 things. First, foremost, you have to partner with each other in a way that the youth trusts your intention. So the intention must be co-created and set at a level where there's resonance and a willingness to move forward. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Second thing is we should have fun. Like there should be a sense of joy and fulfillment, because there will be a lot of hard work where you feel like throwing in the towel or walking away from the table, or worse, even like feeling like I'm not good enough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's where the collective comes into focus. So we have to really join hands and join forces to become one team, one force,
Mhm.
one family, right? Whatever your context is of creating that with the youth, whether it's you're the parent, you're the teacher, you're the partner or the team member. Those are the 2 fundamental layers I see as the first and second step. The third step is doing the work and creating the conditions for that work to have measurable impact that can be passed on from generation to generation. That's the most important thing, because it can't be just one generation. It has to be generation to generation. To me, my dear friend and David Roberts, he's like a mentor to my soul, not just my life. He came up with the idea of exponential leadership. And the way he described it was really beautiful. He wasn't like, we, meaning the three of us, four of us in the team, including him who's the head, of course, so four of us total, make a massive impact in this lifetime. It's about the third generation of leaders that we leave behind. If they have massive transformative purpose and have had impacted, 3x that we did, then we've succeeded. So that's what I believe is also at the heart of this kind of success. About that kind of extraordinary stewardship and leadership and citizenship into generation to generation that will hopefully bring us closer and, to world peace.
Oh, very good. Well, Kunal, turning this personally with you, what do you most want to contribute to creating peace on earth by 2020?
Yeah, speaking of that legacy and looking ahead of generations ahead.
It's a deeply personal question because, I've learned the most in my life through suffering. Having people, having not been able to really fulfill my mission as yet. I don't believe I've done much in my life. So for me, it's a constant a process of hard work, of, being able to find that massive transformative purpose, really doing all I can to fulfill it and actualize it in the world, and then honoring really difficult parts of me where I feel like I've been a failure, like my father's legacy, my mentor who died, took his own life, which started me on the path in the first place, and then connecting it to my own pain and suffering in ways that it becomes more of a force for good in the world. Because, we often try to negate lives, but the pain can really serve as something that transcends and transforms into hope. And when we can really use that hope to inspire and activate another human being, I believe that's what my life's purpose is in the world. To take my pain and give others hope for a better future. And peace is a part of that equation.
Yeah.
Thank you for leading with such powerful vulnerability in what you're sharing. And I wonder, I'm just going to add in a question actually. What are you most proud of that you're working on right now in light of your legacy and your wish that you'd like? What is it that you're most proud of right now?
It's interesting. I'm not particularly proud of anything except that I'm able to help others find and share their voices so that we can change our world. And I feel like that's what I'm most proud of is giving freely without fear or favor and being able to help others find and live their true exponential potential. And that's really what I'm most proud of. I'm not proud of achievements per se. I'm more proud of those small moments of being able to help impact other people's lives. That's what I pride myself on.
Beautiful. Yeah, so we want to know about other people and organizations that you feel are really making the contributions to creating peace on earth. We want to give a chance to get the word out about those organizations. So,
I'll introduce you to some, and hopefully you can partner with them.
Yeah.
I know this guy called Ray Chambers, who's really made it his life's work to support and, help transform people's lives from a global health sense to begin with. As he was at the UN as a Under Secretary General for malaria. Now 3 years ago, he took on the mantle of supporting and inspiring peace around the world. He started UN International Peace Day.
Yeah.
He's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
Of course, all of our Dalai Lamas and Desmond Tutus and a few unknown rishis are also very extraordinary at doing that. Our fellow friend, Dr. Dodi, also in his own way, uses compassion and altruism and the science of it to create more efficacy and more credibility in that world. But there are also a lot of unsung heroes, like my dear friend Brian Ferguson, who's a former Navy SEAL, who really believes in love, compassion, and peace, even though he's a man of the military and trained to be someone that would protect us in harm's way. And this is where I break with most peaceful warriors. I don't believe peace is about absolute peace. Peace is about finding the balance between the protector and the server, meaning life of service and life of protection, because you need both to really live in our world. So I honor these unsung heroes like Brian Ferguson that are so extraordinary, and David Roberts, and Barry Brown, who's a pastor, and I really honor them from a place of being able to serve the world, despite having served the military, right? And they come at it from a place of protecting us. So for me, war is not the antithesis of peace. It is truly a process to find peace. Mm-hmm. And it is the last resort, but it is a necessary resort. So I feel like beating up, the military or that side is not fair for us as people who believe in peace. And I feel like we should honor them as much as we honor the peacemakers and the change makers and the transformational agents of advocates of peace. Mm-hmm. And I think once we start doing that, we will really see the resurgence of peace. So I'd say military is an extraordinary place for us to tap into their wisdom. Of course, we know the rest of these guys, and there are lots of people that are doing really extraordinary work in peace. There's a guy, oh my God, I don't remember his name, but he started something, a network that creates Xander. Xander, he started something called One Tribe Ventures. He's a young boy. Mm-hmm. And all he does, he works for an extraordinary man, Mike Novogratz, who's like the cryptocurrency king. And he's actually Jacqueline Novogratz's brother. And this boy, Xander, Xander's about 32, I think.
Okay.
And he's to help the refugees out of crisis. So to me, that's peace. When you help people out of crisis, these are the guys I love, because they're really trying to solve for a real world problem, a global grand challenge, which is, affecting us here now. So for me, those are the ones that we should really, honor and join forces with. I'd love to introduce you to him. He's got quite an extraordinary story.
Yeah.
And, he'd be really good on here. And he loves to support people and help them, with finance and structuring deals and building their websites. Very humble, very extraordinary. So, I mean, we could go on. I don't want to make this a list, but you've got my full network, John, so I can give you whoever you want. And you've given me so much.
I appreciate that, Kunal. And well, okay, because let me tell you, the summit is launching a couple things that are in the works here. So we've discovered in this journey that, doing good in the world is important, but it's just not enough. I'm proud of the fact that we've served 18 million people and doing good, and we want more people to do good. But we realize we need a second order change. We need transformative change.
I agree.
So part of the summit is launching what we're calling the Synergized Impact Network Exchange, a sign, and the ability to make waves together. We're realizing that we are connected like we've never been before, and we can stand for and with each other in ways we haven't before. So members of Sign make waves. And what happens
Mhm.
basically is there's a path, a route in which other signed members share your feed when you go live, so that you know that now your presence online is not just going to reach the audience you can reach directly, but who these partners, these signed members, this exchange that you're working with, they're going to share your feed as well, so that we can reach millions of people. And our
Mhm.
goal is for September 20th, 2020, have
Yeah.
100 million people connected online and launch this peace wave, a global peace wave that follows the sun, bringing light to all these solutions, and launches a decade dedicated to achieving these goals and creating peace on earth.
Wow. Well, then we should definitely partner with some of my most like people I consider my gods,
Mm.
meaning I really look up to them. Like these people are the ones who've affected my life, not necessarily just in peace. Actually, they disrupted peace completely in my life. They took me into a world of, disruption and innovation and massive transformative purpose, which would be Peter Diamandis. He's like my godfather. I love him to death. And Tim Draper, another man that I love to pieces. And these are like godfathers. They're not like friends of mine per se. I mean, they treat me like family. They hug me. They support all of my ventures when they come in and speak at my summits. But the truth is, like, you find very rare moments of people who really do that to you in your life. And, people like these two especially, and then, just these two especially really come to heart when it comes to like having expanded my horizon. And Salim Ismail and, a few others who've really like, uh, really changed my life. One person right by my side, who's truly been, a force for me personally is Laura. And you know Laura from Seattle, Laura Muranaka. She's been everything in my world. And, we've opened up doors with Muhammad Yunus, who's also a phenomenal person. And she's off in Paris now doing extraordinary things to culminate, the work we do with our fellow comrades. And I just feel like, this world, like now I'm working with Misha Hyman, who's Dr. Mark Hyman's son. I love him, I mentor him, and I support him. And he's doing unbelievable work. And he believes, and I believe, we believe in this idea of what I coined, which you know about, the global health revolution. And now we're starting something called the food revolution. And he's working with a dear friend of mine, Hawk Newsom, who you should have on your show, who is the president of Black Lives Matter. And then his father, Mark Hyman, who's like a functional medicine expert, he also is doing extraordinary work with food injustice and with his son. And they're trying to, start at the core, which is like targeted racism. They call it targeted racism. And that has become something that I'm very passionate about, is going to the source of the problem, not trying to solve for peace once the problem's here. It's just like health. Let's go right to the source. Let's go to a place where if we start working there, you minimize the chances of and maximize the chance of everlasting peace.
Mm.
So that's where we are right now. We're doing extraordinary work with, of course, with Rachel and, this very dear friend of mine, Anne Rosenberg. I'd love to host you guys. Maybe we do a combination. You come down, I host you, and we do like a combination of online, in-person, virtual summit.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's always best, right? So, and we really start to curate and culminate the idea of peace through these extraordinary human beings that I have a lot of love for. And of course, deepest love I have is for my family, who's made all this possible.
Yeah.
Without taking their names, they know who they are.
Ah, so sweet, so tender. Well, I think, one of the things too that we're so excited about Sign is, that there are so many waves as we're preparing this wave of here we are in the Peace Wave Summit, but this isn't going to be an ongoing muscle that we're going to be working on with other Sign members and other extraordinary social innovators, that this is just the beginning. Like, we're tapping into something that is going to be a very exciting growth process that, as you said earlier, we want this to be fun, and we want this to be something that is really going to help each other raise the engagement of all members, you know, that this is something that really will help everyone. And the great of the, you mentioned so many wonderful people, that how great it would be to see their waves and support those waves as well. So
yeah, a synergized impact. The synergy comes from this idea of you making these waves. So just now, we did this when just the day before we met with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. We created a wave to support the International Golden Rule Day.
Yeah.
Now the idea is that any member of Sign will be able to make their own waves and have the support of the other social innovators in their network. And in fact, we're going to do that during the summit, right? So at the summit, we're inviting people to play Let's Make Waves and take the feed. So you take a live stream and you share it, and others sharing that stream together turns those streams into a wave.
Yeah.
And eventually a tsunami.
That's
of
It's so funny. I was just going to invite you to create a tsunami with me. Now, if you guys want to come as my guests, I can try and get you in to the youth dialogue. I think it would be an extraordinary opportunity for you to be here. You know, definitely.
What is that?
May 30th.
May 30th. Ah,
yeah.
We will have been there. Gosh, okay, well, all right. But here's the other.
Let's take this offline and discuss it.
Yeah. Maybe we make a wave there.
Because the opportunity for us to possibly make a wave.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm going to head to Greenland. I'm going to be with Uncle, the Inuit, on the solstice. We're going to do a solstice wave. The event is melting the ice in the heart of humanity.
Oh, wow.
The only continent where there's never been war is Greenland. And being hosted there as part of this peace pledge, Jonathan Granoff and Ben Bowler, and so there's so many chances to make these waves, and the idea again is to build this collective capacity to synergize impact together.
That we're stronger together, like you say.
100%.
How we go from me to we.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what we see as something that can really help in these.
I agree.
As being peace on earth right now in this moment. You know, that this is the possibilities. One of the things that I think would be really great, that also is connected, I'm going to connect kind of two questions in one, but you have mentioned your transformative work that you do with youth, and I'm wondering if there's a gift or some kind of way that those that are going to be participating, that are here for the summit, that you could like a bonus or gift to kind of get into your system or transformation. If people were to get just a taste of working with you, if there would be something that you could gift the audience, and then along with that sort of thought, to just think about, are there any other key insights you have to share on how we can all work together to create peace on earth by 2030?
So I'd give you one gift that I've got, is that in order to really find peace on earth, we have to become the superorganism, which means that we go beyond ourselves and join forces to become a force that's larger than ourselves. Something magical happens when you do this. You know, it's like almost like, it's like a hive, you know. You can ward off predators and you can create extraordinary possibility. You can make honey, you know, which is like a cure-all for many diseases, right?
Yes.
And for me personally, the greatest gift I have received in my life and given is the art of giving and receiving true love. And by that, I mean the true love that sits in your heart. Action. See, sometimes we have conditional love, right? Which is, I love you because you're my wife. I love you because you're my child.
Mm-hmm.
When you can do enough work to love you because I love you, you know, that's when true magic exists, and the gifts of what's beyond that starts to emerge. Mm-hmm. And we've seen examples of this in spirituality, whether it be Sri Aurobindo from Auroville in India, who created this extraordinary village of the future, or Jesus, Buddha, all of these sentient beings all speak to that idea of love being the gift to humanity. But embodying that is very hard. And that's what I feel is the truest gift we can give each other in today's world. Not saying I love you, but showing it, being it, and showing up, and then letting go. So that sense of devotion versus desire, that devoted sense of love. It's a lot of hard work.
Right.
So to me, that's the gift, that sense of unrequited, absolute love that you can show and give to another. And it's so hard. It is the hardest thing to do.
It's very vulnerable.
Very vulnerable and very strong. True strength lies in that ability to let go and give. Give from a place of strength and integrity.
Absolutely. It's interesting too, as you say, like the conditional, it seems that that's like, I am now thinking that it's time to say I love you, versus like really it's like, to me, it's almost like something that just comes over you, that you just, like your whole body feels love. And it's, it's a different, and I don't know if many people know how to access that, and
I'm not saying I do, but I'm trying to.
Yeah.
That's why I believe it's a gift. The moment, God willing, I'm able to unlock that, there will be abundance that I can just give without fear or without favor. Because a lot of the things we give in life are with fear and with favor. When we detach of that and give without fear or favor, we become, that gift we want to give in the world.